are some of the false excuses appearing real, and you should take note of these traps so that you don't turn them into your mental narrative, so that you don't make them or you don't turn them into your truth. These are realities, but they are not your truth. People say, I don't have time, but you have time. You see? People say, I can't concentrate, but with the right systems, you can concentrate. People say, books are expensive. Well, books are investments. So you save and you invest in them, because ultimately you are investing in yourself. You are your biggest asset because you are investing in your mind. That knowledge, nobody can take away from you. Your land can be confiscated. We have issues, ongoing cases today where the FCT minister is revoking land rights. You see that. But nobody can revoke the knowledge from the book you have. That is you. You are the walking, living, breathing value. You see that. So nobody can take that away from you. At this juncture, before I help you, we'll be going into developing a reading culture. But please, I need to know, let me know in the comments if you're getting value from this session. I would want us to just take a short 2 minutes break so that you can rest yourself, you can chew on, look at your notes, look at what you have been able to put down. And then if you want to ask your question, this is a good time to jot down the questions you want to ask me at the end of this class so that I'll be able to answer them. All right. Thank you, Betty. Yeah, I'm so happy doing this for you because there is nothing as sad as seeing people living below their potentials, quite honestly. There's so much you can become. There's so much you can do. There's a better version of yourself waiting on the other side of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, right? And creativity is a function of knowledge. It's a function of understanding. And if you don't have knowledge as the raw material, because creativity is the cross-pollination of knowledge, you cross-pollinate knowledge to get creativity. But if you don't have that knowledge, that raw material, what do? You're helpless, right? And that's where so many people find themselves today. You see that? So I would like you to, again, to stay away, minimize distractions as much as you can so that you can get the best out of this session. I'll be done for this session, for this second part of the session. It will take less time for us. This is 2 hours in already. And so we should be able to round up this part, and then I'll be able to take your questions. I know some of you want to ask me stuff. Yes, I know we've had value from this session, but you want something a bit more personalized. You have personal issues or questions that you would want to ask me. So I'll be willing to answer them. All right. So now let's look at developing a reading culture. How do you develop a reading culture? A reading culture is a product of priority. You've come to that place where you consider reading to be so important for you that you make the time and space for it in your life. You make the time and space for it in your life. You see that? So reading is its own reward, as I would say. Let me start with a story. Back in my primary school, I think, my friends, 3 of them, Sadiq, Salisu, and Ugochukwu. Salisu was my best friend anyway. Sadiq, Salisu were just a clique. And we used to do this game where class, for a week, we pretend to be someone else for a week. We pretend to be someone else for a week. And the trick of this of this of this game is that my name is Steven, right? So instead of calling me Steven for 1 week, or instead of bearing the name Steven for 1 week, among my friend group, I'll be bearing the name Salisu. So follow me. Here's how it works. I'll be bearing the name Salisu for that 1 week. So if within that 1 week, one person out of the friend group calls me Steven, and I respond, I owe them my food during break time. And we always did it before break time. That was the best part, because anybody who failed, you get to share your food with the person who made you to fail during break time. So I will call Sadiq. Sadiq will not turn. When I call him Ugochukwu, then he responds. So the trick is to carry an identity. I don't know why we had fun doing that anyway. It was quite mysterious, but we had fun doing it. You know, the goal is to assume the identity of somebody else. The goal is to assume the identity of somebody else, right? And then whenever a friend of ours, or whenever we call, if I call Ugochukwu before break, he doesn't answer. After break, he can answer me because there's no lunch to share anymore. But before break, he will not answer his name Ugochukwu. He would rather answer a different name, maybe say the assigned name called Salisu. Now, as much as we tried to keep up with this, as much as we tried to maintain an identity that was not our own, we had instances where we failed woefully. Talking about identity, it is not so much about engaging in the habit. It is about having the identity of the kind of person who engages in this habit. For instance, if say you bring a pack of cigarettes to me now, okay? And I'm not saying this to judge anybody, judgment aside, I'm just using this for an example. You bring a pack of cigarettes to me, and you light it in front of me, and I perceive the odor, right? The likely thing I'm going to do is to excuse myself from that environment, because the health risk of secondhand smoking is higher for the secondhand smoker, which is me, compared to the first-hand smoker or the actual smoker. The reason is because I have very minimal exposure. Because I have very minimal exposure to cigarettes, my organs are not accustomed to perceive the odor of a cigarette. That's why for most people, their first time smoking, they cough a lot. Why? Because their system has not, or their system is not it is not accustomed to that kind of environment, or it is not accustomed to what you are introducing into your system. It is not accustomed to it. You don't have that identity. You don't have that psyche. The only thing I need to do is to get up and leave that environment, because it's of harm to me, because I'm a second-hand smoker, right? It does more harm to me than it does for the first-hand smoker. Health professionals will tell you that. And if you offer it to me, I don't start to scream, oh my God, I don't want to smoke. No, I don't like smoking. Why would you give me cigarettes to smoke? No. The only thing I tell you is, I'm not a smoker. If you give me a wrap of marijuana, right? And you tell me, hey, have this. what I would tell you, I would not tell you that I'm trying to quit marijuana because that's not captured in my identity. I will tell you that I don't do marijuana. It's not in my identity. And again, I'll have to put it here that this is not a judgment statement. It is just an example. Okay, let me use better examples. Say you have, you want to tempt somebody with whiskey, right? And this person has never tasted whiskey in his life. You open the bottle, you show him, he sniffs it, and then he tells you, okay, so what's up? What do we do? I've sniffed the whiskey. So where do we go from here? Right? The goal has not been, because you are trying to introduce to someone something that they have not formed a vulnerability for. It is not captured in their identity to use that substance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So rather than tell you, oh, take it away, I'm trying to quit smoking, I'm trying to quit alcohol, or I'm trying to quit marijuana, they simply tell you, I don't do marijuana. I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker. They don't even just tell you I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker. That's the identity. I'm not this. I don't. You've heard people say, oh, I'm a kind of person. I'm a night owl. I'm a morning person. I'm this and that. Those are identity statements. Those statements give us an idea of who you are. What is your identity? What have you formed in your mind over time? So when you want to develop a reading culture, the first step, the most important step, is not even about reading every day or reading consistently. The most important step is having the mindset of a reader, the mindset of a learner, the mindset of an apprentice. What do apprentices do? They learn. What do learners do? They learn. What do readers do? They read. What do dogs do? They bark. What do cows do? They move, right? Birds fly effortlessly. Why? Because it's in their identity, and therefore that identity, in fact, for instance, this is not the best of examples. If you were to cut off the wings of a bird, or maybe you defeather a chicken, for instance, or a bird that can fly, you defeather it, and it sees danger coming, its first instinct, it will flap its wings, not even remembering that the feathers are no longer there. You see that? Why? Because it's in its identity to fly. Even if maybe something must have happened at the time that got its feathers off, made its feathers, that got its feathers removed. But ultimately, you will find out that that bird, or yeah, that bird, at the slightest sign of danger, its first instinct is to flap its wings, even if there are no feathers on it. Why? Because that identity has been ingrained in it. So the first step for you as a reader is to form the habit or the reading habit, is for you to be able to identify yourself as a reader first. You identify yourself as a learner. And I'll be sharing this with you from one of I took this from James Clear's thesis on building the identity of a person who can carry out a habit. So becoming an apprentice, this is how it works. This is how it works. Now, as an apprentice, for most people, they try to imbibe a habit through a three-step process reversed. They try to start with the outcome, they imbibe the process, and then they try to force that process to form their identity or what they understand about themselves. If you look at the structure, it says, so they start with the outcome, right? They start with the outcome, the process, and the identity. But when you want to become a reader and you want to maintain that habit for a longer time, for a longer period of time, you will have to start from the inside. You will have to tell yourself, I am a reader. I am an apprentice. I am someone who values the importance of reading. Therefore, I will carry out the process of reading every day. I will put myself in environments that help me become a reader. And I will do this practice every day to prove it to myself. Do you understand? Rather than doing it from outside in, you're doing it from the inside out. You're forming that identity. First, you have to convince yourself that you're a reader. Every month, in fact, every week, I visit a bookshop. Confession time. Every week, I visit a bookshop. And I do it effortlessly. And it's not necessarily because I'm trying to force it and all of that. No. There are books on my to-buy list that I'm waiting for them to come out. Matter of fact, this is extreme. I have the number of several bookshops in this city and those outside of my city. And I view their status to look at the books that they have in stock. And from their status, I order the books, or I send them a list of my books, the books I want to get. And then I tell them, please help me get this book. And they say, oh, we don't have this in stock now. Okay. Well, when we have in stock, we'll put you on the priority tier list and then we'll provide it for you immediately. I get the delivery to my house. You see that? So that habit or that practice comes from a place of an acceptance of my identity as a lifelong learner. I read. Why? Not just because I have to, because I know the benefit it does for me. And that was why in the beginning, I started by telling you the benefits of reading. Why? Because it keeps you on your toes. It helps for you to know that when you are reading, you are not doing a boring activity. You are actually helping yourself. You are doing yourself a favor. All right?